Alrighty, I am continuing this series on surviving a breakup. I've been sharing that I've gone through a recent breakup, and so trying to harvest whatever we can to learn from this experience and to just to remind ourselves, as each of us go through breakups multiple times in our lifetimes, and they all have different circumstances, but there are certainly things that we can learn from each other, and just talking about it more, I think, is so important. And admitting that this is not something that just happens to a few people, it happens to all of us, is we just need to, we don't need more shame around this area, right? And so in this video, before I start talking in the next video about how to recover from a relationship breakup, I actually wanted to weigh in on what we could try to do to repair a relationship breakup. Because you know me, I'm all about can we save this? And that would be definitely my go-to, if at all possible, especially in the relationships that have mattered to us, where we've built history. My rule of thumb is the more that I've invested in a relationship and enjoyed it, and the longer we've known each other, the more I should be willing to do whatever it takes to repair it, or at least have healthy closure. So in this case, there's two different types of breakups, at least. One is a drift, kind of where we drift apart from each other. Nobody did anything harmful. We just kind of recognize, it's usually we wake up and we're just wow, we haven't really talked to her very often much anymore. We changed jobs, we don't see them. Something just kind of happened, and nothing bad, no hard feelings, but we've just drifted apart, right? And then we've got the ones where there's a rift, where something happened. We can point to it and say there was a wound done, an injury was done to that relationship in some form or another. And so those are two kind of different experiences. And what I want to talk today is about the rift. So when something harmful happens in the relationship, sometimes it's possible you don't even know what you did, but you can tell the rift happened. And sometimes you know exactly what happened and what you did to hurt the other person. In my case, I know what I did to hurt her. And so here's kind of where I would start, and I did not have the chance to do all of this in my relationship this most recent time, but this is where I would try to go if I were trying to repair and fix a breakup or a rift and prevent a breakup. So apology, right off the bat, that should be an I am so sorry. I'm so sorry I hurt you. And that should just be as heartfelt and as unequivocal, as big as we can possibly make it. Our tendency is to show up and defend ourselves, but in this moment, if she's hurt, that's all that matters, is her perspective. And so I am so sorry. An apology is right off the bat. The second most important thing is asking basically some form of the question, how can I make amends? How can I make this right? And depending on what the situation was, that might look different. Some of you have shared stories where you feel like you were smothering your friend and she got really upset and pulled away. And so what would amends look like there? So in a situation where some of you feel like you talked bad about your friend's boyfriend, or you weren't there for her in a certain situation and she really needed you and felt hurt by that. So what would amends look like? Is there anything you can do? And maybe the bigger the grievance, it's kind of one of those things where it's show that you mean it. This isn't just a text, what can we do to show up and make amends, to do something that says, I see that this was hurtful, and I'm wanting to show you that I'm willing to do what I can to repair this. And those should be kind of off the bat, off the top of the thing. But then remember the Frientimacy triangle. And the most important thing is that something's broken on this triangle after this rift. And what we have the invitation to do is to look at all three of those things, the positivity, the consistency, and the vulnerability, and say, what can I do in each of these areas to help practice this? And so at the very base of our relationship, something's broken. And so for us to start repairing it, we have to add consistency. So if we smothered our friend, for example, and made them pull away because they felt like we were just insatiable and too needy, then what does the consistency look like? Consistency, remember, is the thing that it's not just consistent time, it's consistent behavior. And so one of the things that I think is really important after we disappoint a friend or hurt a friend is to be able to help state what they can expect from us in the future and then follow through on that consistently. And so that what we're trying to do is rebuild trust. And so as we're looking at this consistency factor, it's not not just that we say, I'm so sorry for smothering you. You're right. I need other friends and not to put that all on you. And we send her flowers, or we go show up with something, whatever we try to do to make amends. And then what we need to be able to do is state and own our stuff. Say, you're right. I don't want to put all of that on you. I want to be somebody who has other friends, and you don't have to be the person to make all my friends. So in the future, you can expect that I will be very aware of my boundaries, and I'm not going to expect you to do X, Y, Z. And then we have to actually live up to that. That's how we rebuild trust, is stating what they can expect from us in the future so that they know that what they can expect, so they're not worried that we will repeat ourselves, and that then we have to follow through on the actions of that. So if we said something hurtful, we need to be able to state, I know that this is a subject that's off limits, or this is I shouldn't have said that. I need to be more mindful. We need to take responsibility. We need to own that. We need to be able to make a commitment that you can expect that this will never happen again. And then we need to be following through on that and doing whatever we can to consistently repair that situation. So consistency in this situation is consistent behavior. That helps reinforce the positive behavior that we are committing to do in that friendship. And so that's really important. And then, of course, the foundation of positivity is crucial. So now that we've had a rift in our friendship and something has been hurt, we really need to add more joy back to this friendship. We need to have fun together again. The sooner we can get back to doing something fun, the sooner we can get back to making light of things, the sooner we can get back to affirming, to sharing good news, to asking questions about her life. The sooner we can get back to all of that, the better. And so we don't want to spend a long time going over this and staying in the problem and staying in the negative and making, just kind of dwelling there. We really want to get it back to a place where the positivity to negativity ratio, remember, it has to be 5-1. So 5 positive interactions and feelings for every negative one. And so these negative ones are huge, and we really need to offset them with the reward of being friends with us. So that the more often they're leaving our presence feeling happy, feeling loved, feeling accepted, feeling good, we need that to repeat itself over and over and over to help kind of put in perspective that painful experience. So that's consistency and positivity. And then vulnerability. I would say the most important part of vulnerability when it comes to repairing a rift is staying vulnerable. Remember, being vulnerable is at the base of it. It's allowing ourselves to stay open. The opposite of vulnerability in this situation would be defensiveness. It would be kind of covering ourselves up and you can't hurt me, right? And so the opposite, what we're tempted to do is to kind of go into our shell, or kind of close down, or to stop sharing, and to kind of be if I don't know where I stand with you, so I'm just going to kind of play it safe. And no, vulnerability, if this is a relationship that matters and a relationship where you've practiced it before, staying vulnerable means staying open. It means still putting ourselves out there and saying, I miss you. I'm so sorry. An apology is vulnerable. Saying, I miss you. Saying, I hope this relationship makes it. That can feel vulnerable because our brains say, I don't want to care more than she cares. I don't want to put more on the table than she puts on the table. But we're the ones who are willing to say, no, you know what? I'm willing to kind of go down, so to speak, saying, I love you and I miss you and you're worth it to me. And so to try to stay open and soft and receptive, and to share what was hurting, and to share from an honest place, maybe even to be able to share at some point, if it doesn't sound defensive, to be able to share why were we tempted to do X, Y, Z in the first place? What was that about? And to be able to share some of the processing that we've done around that perhaps would be appropriate depending on the relationship. But really at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is rebuild a healthy relationship. And so we want to make sure that we're investing our time in adding positive feelings, in creating consistent interactions and consistent behavior, which create a dependability and where they can depend on us, and continuing to share stories and getting to know each other, and using this painful experience as a way for us to learn about each other. So now we know what the other person is like under stress. Now we know what hurts them. Now we know how to protect them and not risk disappointing them again. Now we know when to speak up. And so we're learning more about each other and what each other might need better to love them better in the future. And so it's always the Frientimacy triangle. And in this case, though, it's staying mindful that there was a rift. So we're not just trying to hide that and then just be like, let's go play. We're not just trying to do the three things. We want to do the three things cognizantly, mindfully, of the fact that we disappointed somebody. And so let's show up, let's own that. Let's share with them why we hope that does not happen again, and help create healthy expectations that the two of us can both agree on and share. And let's get back to having a good time, loving each other, affirming each other, and sharing our stories with each other as quickly as we possibly can. It doesn't happen every time, but I hope that's helpful. I hope it saves one relationship. I hope that somewhere along the line, a relationship can be saved and even deepened because of their willingness to show up and to invest in this relationship in this way. Blessings on you as you make an effort to strengthen and recover and repair any of the relationships in your life that have been feeling bad.